Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe down below. My name is Adiola and I upload videos about Africa, travel and lifestyle. So if you're interested in videos on those topics, please do subscribe down below and join our community. So hello, happy new year. Welcome back to my channel, guys. I know when you probably see this, it's going to be like end of February or something. It's currently mid-February when I'm filming, but I'm Nigerian and we say Happy New Year until probably about May, okay? So I'm super glad to be doing another sit down video. I haven't done one of these in probably over 2 years now, if I'm honest. It's because I've been just traveling crazy. I've been very fortunate enough to have a job that allows me to do so. Yes, I do work. For some who don't think I work, yes, I do. I have a regular 9 to 5, and I'm super grateful that it's given me the opportunity to be really flexible. But this year I really wanted to be intentional with kind of how I spend my time, and I just didn't want to do things for doing sake. I felt like I was traveling a lot because of FOMO, and rightfully so, with everything going on in the world, you know. I think it will be very hard to travel to certain countries, certain regions in the coming years. So I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to do it when I did. But now this year I really want to be intentional with the kind of travel I'm doing, and I also want to be realistic and start saving. Not all my money has to go on travel, so I'm being very intentional this year, and I don't have that many trips booked actually, so a lot more sit down videos are here and are coming your way. I hope you guys do like them. And speaking of intentionalities as well, I really want to try and push this channel this year and invest more into it. So I do have a new camera setup and a new mic. I really hope, let's touch wood, that it looks and sounds good, because I don't want to have to film this again and I don't want to have to do this again. But the majority of my vlogs, I've noticed that are just handheld and they can be a bit shaky. You know, I'm just holding my phone literally. The majority of the vlogs are filmed on my phone right here. So to my phone, I really do love and appreciate it, but I also do not think it's the best quality wise. So I've invested a pretty penny into this one, and hopefully everything goes well. So for future travel vlogs, if they do come this year, maybe next year or the coming years, they will be on this. Another thing I do want to do is bring back my Facts About Africa series, because that was really popular and I really enjoyed filming that. I learned a lot about different African countries through that, so I'll be doing that as well. But today's video, I'll be talking about how much I spent on my travel. This is a question I get the most actually. A lot of people are like, how do you afford to travel? How can you do this? How can you do that? La 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 la. And when I tell people time is the best thing, again, can't shout out my profession enough. I'm so grateful that I have a flexible job that allows me to take time off. And so if I see a cheap flight, a cheap deal, I don't even have to worry about taking time off. I can take time off. But I do know that finances are still important when it comes to traveling. And I don't know about anyone else, but I love to watch a lot of salary transparency and like salary breakdown kind of videos. So I'm gonna do my own take on it, my own spin on it, and tell you guys how much I spend when traveling to certain countries. So as my vlogs have just come out for my December travel, you would have seen I did a lot of Africa. So I thought it would be really good to break down how much I spend in Africa. And as Ethiopia is one of my most popular viewed videos at the moment, I thought I'll break down how much I spent when traveling to Ethiopia. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, when traveling to Ethiopia, I only went for 2 days. I stayed in, I would say it was a 3-star hotel. So it was a decent hotel. It was around the Bole area. The Bole area is kind of known as the kind of touristy, safer area, the areas most people tend to go. And then I also did 3 tours. I know, right? I was there for 2 days and I did 3 tours. I did 2 days tours and 1 evening tour. So I'll be telling you the costs of all of that, the cost of my transportation, the cost of food, and everything else. So stay tuned. I should also say, if you see me looking down, I am just looking at my phone to bring up all the receipts. I tend to use cash when traveling. I really enjoy using cash, especially when it comes to Africa, just because I feel like the continent, unless you have mobile money or like those mobile systems, they are not accustomed to taking cards. So if you're in the popular touristy areas, this doesn't really apply. You can use your card, but I find cash is most of the time the best bet. So I should also say I'm only going to include one of my flights, just because this was I bought a multi-city trip. So the first leg of my trip was £260, and that was from Gatwick to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. I think that's pretty good, but you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think of that. Let's talk about before I enter the country. So before I enter the country, I had to get a visa. So I got a holiday visa, which lasted up to, I believe it was a month. Let me try and find it. And I believe most countries have to get this. Maybe if you're in East Africa, you don't have to get it. But I know most countries have to get a visa to enter Ethiopia. I think they should drop this rule, but hey. So the visa actually cost me £48.94, and I believe that's about $62. Okay, so next up was my hotel, which cost me about £74.16, which is just under 12,000 Ethiopian birr. So a great thing about my hotel is that it did airport transfer, so it did pick up and drop off. So I didn't actually have to pay for airport pickup and drop off, which is great for me. But then I later found out from speaking to an Ethiopian that most hotels actually do pick up and drop off. So I think I could have gotten maybe a better hotel, or a hotel that was slightly nicer, because my hotel, again, it was okay, but I didn't think it was that great. It was 3 nights technically, but it was 2 days that I actually had in the city to explore. So that works out to about just under £25 a night, which is okay, but I think I could have got something better. But I was just I was blown away, I'll be honest, by the airport transfer. But I did also learn that airport journeys don't actually cost that much. It costs about $8 to go to kind of the Bole region, which is about a 10-minute drive from the airport. So about $8 for that. If you're going any further, it wouldn't cost you more than, I don't know, more than $10-15. So it's good to know if you're ever planning on going to Ethiopia, those are the costs. So at the airport, this is something that I think was a little bit silly of me, but at the airport I only took out just under £16, which was about 2,500 birr, Ethiopian birr. So I took out $15.99 because I thought everything's already paid for. I don't really need anything else. I'll just pay for food. Little did I know, food was more expensive than I expected it to be. So I only took out $15.99, just under £16. And then at the airport, I wanted to get a SIM card, but as the currency wasn't too familiar to me, I was kind of overestimating how much things cost. So when I went to the counter, I was calculating it, and it sounded about like $20, which I didn't think was worth it for 2 days. So I didn't end up paying it. Turns out it was $12. So at the airport, I think there was about 3 counters that did SIM cards. The cheapest one was about $4, and then the most expensive was about $12. So it's good to know if you're ever flying into the Addis Ababa, you have a selection and an option. Don't go for the advertised ones. That's my travel tip for you guys. If you're ever traveling, don't go for the ones they advertise. ask them for exactly what you want. You say, what is the cheapest data only deal you have? And they will tell you. And sometimes it is the advertised one, but most of the times I found in my travels, it's not the price they advertise. Say you only want data, and if they ask you how many days you're staying, always say under the amount of days you're staying, because there are some who do like 7-day deals, 15-day deals, 3-day deals. But I find if I'm traveling to a country for 4 days and there's a 3-day deal, which is way cheaper and way more beneficial for me, I'm gonna take the 3-day deal. But they're not gonna tell you that if you say you're staying for 4 days. So just, I think it's an acquired skill. You learn by doing, but I would always say go to the counter and ask them. Don't just take the first price they give you. Anyways, that's a side ramble. If you haven't already known, I'm a certified yapper. I don't think in my videos it comes across, but I can talk for England. So that's something good to know for yourself if you're ever traveling. But back to the Ethiopia cost breakdown. Yes, I only took out that much at the airport and I didn't end up getting a SIM. I decided to get some food, which cost me about £7. I think hotel food is just typically a bit more on the pricier side. I think if I was to eat it outside, I wouldn't have spent that much money. But because I was at the hotel, it ended up coming to about £7. And something I didn't know about Ethiopia until getting there is restaurants charge you two taxes. One is at 10%, one is at 15%. I can't exactly remember what they're for. If I have a receipt, I'll put it up so you can see, but you get basically charged 25% of anything that you buy. So things weren't as cheap as I thought, but they were still relatively cheap, especially coming from England. If you haven't actually watched my Ethiopia video, why haven't you, and why are you here? Go and watch that video so you kind of know what I'm talking about. I actually had a tour booked and the tour company kind of switched around and altered my tour, which they compensated me for, which I'll get into a bit later. But it did mean that I was doing a completely different tour than I expected. But the reason I mention this is because it does come up into the cost and the factors later. On the tour, we had to pay for food, and then the food came to about £5.90 each, which was really, really good. I think for a shared platter, that's actually really good. If you haven't seen the vlog already, I will explain to you what we had. We had the traditional dish, which is injera, but then we also had a raw meat tasting experience, which I've never had raw meat before. It was very interesting, and I thought I'd be sick. I thought I'd hate it. It was actually quite nice. So yeah, we had some raw meat, and then we also had some cooked meat as well, which was really, really nice. And for £5.90 for 3 of us sharing, I thought that was decent. In the evening, so I got ready, I went out to the evening time to experience the nightlife in Ethiopia. So the evening tour cost me £15.05, and the first thing I paid for spent £15.62. So this was at the cultural restaurant. It was so nice to see the music, the traditional dances, and the different kind of cultures being celebrated and appreciated in Ethiopia. Absolutely loved it. I had a kind of big platter. I asked for the smaller platter of meat. The same dish that I kind of had in the morning. It was injera and cooked meat. And I asked for the small platter, but it was really, really big. So I had that, and then I also had coffee, I had some popcorn, and I tried their traditional wine called Mej, I believe the traditional wine was called. I wasn't a fan of it. It's honey wine, but it was nice to try. So for all of that, £15.62, and I should say that my guide was there as well, and so everything was 2 times apart from the platter, and I paid for all of that. So I think £15.62 for 2 people, that's pretty good. The next thing I spent was £8.62, and this was a couple drinks at Sky Hotel. So Sky Hotel is kind of like the bougie kind of hotel that we went to. They had amazing music. I really actually liked the vibe there. I just felt like the kind of scene and clubbing out atmosphere in Ethiopia is like people drink and people go there with each other, and it's kind of you're there to be seen, you're not really there to have fun. Going out because I want to dance, I want to have a good time, but going to quite a few countries I see that that's not always the case, and I really did feel that in Ethiopia. They were very pushy for me to drink. I'm not a big drinker. They were pushy for me to like buy things. I'm not a big drinker. I don't really need a table. Most of the time I just go to a place because I want to dance and then go home. So for me to go to somewhere and they're like pushing for me to buy drinks, it just it ruined my vibe a little bit, I won't lie. But the Sky Hotel, I did really like the music there. They were playing a lot of Amapiano, which I love. And yeah, it was nice. I bought, if I have the pictures I'll put it up, but I think I bought a whiskey on the rocks, and I also bought some shots, I believe. So that coming up to £8.60 was decent. So then the next day, this is the Sunday now, I actually got my tour compensated for me. So I only paid for one tour, which I actually didn't mention the price of. Let me go back and tell you the price of that. So the day trip to Tia, which was changed, cost me £40.80. And because I didn't go on the original day that I was supposed to go, they kind of comped me and gave me the other tour for free. So for the two tours, I only paid £40.80, which was absolutely great. Day two, I think some of you would have already seen, I went to Adadi Monastery, which I loved. It was a monastery and a cave. And then we also went to Tia, which Tia is a UNESCO World Heritage Site dating back to, I believe it was the 3rd or the 4th century. It's in my vlog, so to go make sure you watch that, which was actually really nice to see as well. Again, in the tour, we didn't do everything as advertised. Why do they do this? Why? So I really did enjoy it, and I did appreciate that they worked on rectifying the mishap. At the end of that tour, I asked to be dropped at a craft market. So with the craft market, I actually paid in cash, and I believe I used almost all of the money I exchanged. So if you remember in the beginning, I told you I took out just under £16. So I ended up spending the majority of that. I spent about £13 at the craft market. I can't give you the actual estimation right now because unfortunately the cash is gone. So I spent about £13 there. I remember that because I then got a taxi, and I got a taxi to take me to my hotel, which cost just about $3. So let's go for 13 and 3, I think. So once I arrived back at my hotel, I was absolutely shattered. I did want to go out and see and do more, but I just thought, let's call it a day. I used the last remaining change that I did have to buy some snacks, which were basically nothing. So I won't even include them in this cost. They were the equivalent of maybe 5p per snack. So some of them even like 3p, 2p. So I just used my last remaining coins on that. So I did order food from my hotel, and the food that I ordered came to about £5.98, so just under £6, which I don't think is too bad actually, considering the first meal I had on the day that I arrived was about £7 something. So, you know, to me, I was saving money, girl maths. In the morning, the next day, I had an early morning flight, so I headed on my flights. So, okay, guys, my camera cut out before. Apologies about that. Right as we were getting into the good part as well. So some of you maths whizzes would have already done the calculation, but I spent a grand total of £492.08. I'm actually really shocked by that figure. Usually when I do like 2 to 3 day kind of trips or like long weekends, I try to make sure everything included is about 300. So for Africa, I was budgeting about 400 just because I know things like flights and stuff aren't as cheap. But £492, that is just about $620 in only 2 days. I'm actually really shocked that I spent that much. I didn't realize how much it was, especially because I was getting things compensated like the tour, and I had booked everything in advance. I assumed it was a lot cheaper. I think this is a really good eye-opener for me because I didn't realize I spent this much. And I would also like to know in the comments down below what you think about this spending. Again, this does include the flights, visas, hotel, airport transport, every single thing I spent in Ethiopia, but it is a lot. Now, I will say I think the cost would have been a lot less if I stayed longer and if things were a bit more prolonged, and also if I stayed in maybe a cheaper area. You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Tell me if you were expecting me to spend more or less as well. I'd really like to know. I hope you like this video. I hope you like these kind of like cost breakdown videos. If you do, let me know in the comments down below if there's another country that you'd really like to know how much I spent on the trip, and I can do a total cost or a total summary of that. Yeah, that would be really good. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, please do like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.